All right. I'm here with Mayday Mae. I have loved her music for ever since she put out her first EP, My Post-Desert Hearts Renaissance. And I'm here to ask her a few questions about um, her music. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about who you are as an artist, the kind of music you make?
Yeah, of course. Well, oh my gosh, that was such a cute intro spiel. I was like, you're such a real one. You've been
Yeah.
around for a very long time.
Yeah, I have.
2024. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
hi, my name is Mayday Mae. I am a lesbian indie pop rock artist based out of the Bay Area in California, more specifically in the San Jose area. And yeah, I make lesbian indie pop rock music with a lot of, some punk influences, and a lot of, the music I make was somewhat inspired by my local music scene in San Jose, where there's a really like hard rock and punk scene in San Jose. And I feel like some of my music was very inspired by that, as well as, like there being like some 50s and 60s um, and indie pop and indie rock influences of, like from my own interests as well. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can totally relate to having like hard rock influences in my own music. Like um where I'm from, we also have like that kind of whole scene. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's awesome. Your debut album, Mayday, Mayday, it came out May 23rd, right?
Hmm. Yes,
Um,
you're right.
yeah. I would love to know what was like the creation of that album like? Like how did you I know that you had a few singles like after the EP, so I was just wondering like
Hmm.
um some of them were in the album, some of them weren't, and like maybe how you kind of like chose to put those in there or not, or you know.
Yeah, I like this question because you're actually the first person who's ever asked me this. So, being a small indie artist, I had varying resources for the album. Varying resources. There were points in time in like 2025, like because I'm sure like you might have noticed, like okay, like there were some earlier singles and like earlier 20. There
Hmm.
was like you like there was like you like that, and then there was
Hmm.
and then there was 100 to 21, like, and then California Dream Girl came out a lot later. So I had varying resources because being a small indie artist, I think like I didn't really have access to the same producer I was working with all of the time, because the producer I was working with, love him to death. He used to live in my area, but then he moved to Los Angeles. So
Hmm.
it became a little bit difficult to, um, I had to learn how to kind of semi self produce. So like I would produce some stuff on like GarageBand, and then I would send it over to him, and then he would kind of do some mixing and mastering stuff, and then he'd send it back to me, and it would be like this. It was a pretty convenient like back and forth for a while, but I think both of us just got really busy with other stuff. So I think that kind of explains why like there are certain songs where I was like, okay, like I want to include this one but not include that one, because it was like I think, well, part of it was just vibes, and then also just like, New Moon specifically, I did not put in the album because I think like I just felt like it wasn't super representative of like the life transitions I was going through at the time. Like I
Hmm.
wrote New Moon in like mid 2024, I
Hmm.
think, like maybe even before the first EP came out, and I wrote it about like one of my exes, and like I had like broken up with them like long after like the
Hmm.
song even came out. So like I just felt like it wasn't super representative of like who I was as an artist or who I was as a person at the time. So I think like by the time like California Dream Girl came out in like September, that's when I started thinking, oh, I kind of want to put out an album, because it's like I have like my first EP, and I feel like from a logistics standpoint and from like an artist standpoint, like I had felt like I had been around not for very long, but like I had been around long enough to where I was like, I think I kind of need some kind of like full body of work to showcase like this is me. as an artist. Like the EP was kind of like, okay, here's a little taster of Mayday Mae, right? But then it's like, no, 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 no. Here's a full album.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, like in October, I actually was able to go to LA and record with the same producer I used to record with. So I recorded like 4 songs with him in the span of like 2 days. Oh, it was kind of it was a lot, but we banged out a lot of songs. I think we did It's Scary. We actually did Adulthood Bites Back. Yeah, that there's a whole story behind that one. Yeah, It's Scary, Adulthood Bites Back, and then there was also the gosh, why am I blanking on this? Do I seriously have to like look up my own discography? Because okay, wait, because I actually like just woke up low key.
That's all
um,
right. I
wait,
woke
no.
up like 30 minutes ago. I'll be so
Okay,
honest.
okay, me too. I'm just like, why am I forgetting my own songs? Okay, wait, so yeah, we did It's Scary, we did Adulthood Bites Back. Oh, we did Nepo, and we also did I'm Such a Coolie Cat. Those are the ones that we recorded in October.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I kind of started piecing together the discography. And then I think in December is when I started recording Dump Your Boyfriend, Let's Les Out. So I think by the time October, November, December rolled around, I had kind of found a local like music community of people who were, like producers and like people who could mix and master and stuff like that. So then I was like, okay, now I have like a kind of like a little small group of people that I can kind of bounce around, like, like bouncing ideas off of in terms of like mixing and mastering. It's mainly just like there were some singles I decided to include. There were some singles I decided not to, mainly just because I had varying resources and like I was working with a bunch of different people. Whereas like in the first EP, I was just working with the same person consistently. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's kind of long-winded answer, but like
Oh
it's pretty
yeah.
much, yeah,
Yeah.
like pretty much just because of like logistics and like varying resources, which I think like you can hear that a lot of each song, like you can kind of tell that like, okay, like this song was made by a different producer, like producer A versus producer B, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, you talked about how like the first EP was kind of like a taste of Mayday May, and then like the album was like,
Right.
you know, like I guess like a milestone like in your
Oh yeah.
like journey. Like
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
a big thing for any artist to like release your first album. So,
Hmm.
um and I noticed that like the progression has like really been it's like obvious. Like,
Oh, thank
like what I'm trying to say is like um there's a lot of artists, like small artists that I love, but like you have this specific kind of like confidence with your art. And my question is like, does that come like naturally? Like, how have you found your confidence as an artist? And like, how have you come to the creation of your debut album, like versus the first EP? And like, what has that journey been like? You
Oh
know?
my gosh, this is a great question. Okay, so like just kind of like confidence level from like, the EP era to the album era is what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was kind
Yeah.
of like, I
Oh
didn't
wait, no, no,
really
no. I
ask.
was just asking for like clarification because I just want to be able
Mhm.
to, like answer it in the best way that I can.
Yeah, I wrote this down. Okay. So I got like a really strong sense of identity and like that you knew what you wanted to create, like who you were as an artist, like almost right off the bat. And I feel
Ah,
like it's not like common for an artist to have that sense of like confidence. And my
oh,
question is like, have you always had that ability to like tap into creativity like that?
I think not always. Like, I think it
Hmm.
was something that I was kind of building up from like the first EP. Like, cause
Hmm.
like how I even started making music, like my first song that ever released was Bound back in like December 2023, I think.
Hmm.
Like December 2023. I like the entire reason why I even started making music was like it was kind of like a thing that happened by chance. Like it was kind of just like this one stroke of fate and I happened to be in the right place in the right time with the right person and we ended up making this song. And I often like to joke with people that, I didn't think that I could make music or be a musician or like have an internet presence until I heard Bound from the first time for the first time from start to end. I think at the end of the song when when it was fully mixed and mastered and engineered and stuff like that by my producer Elliot Woodbridge, like I think that's when I realized I was like, wait, this is low key like a whole song. Like
Yeah.
I was like, wait, this is low key a whole song, and I can basically do whatever the heck I want with it. Like I can keep it to myself, or I can put it out there in the world. Like I was very much, I think like, oh man, I was like 19 when Bound came out. I'm 22 now. I mean, like that wasn't not a super long time ago, but like, in that like ages of like 18 to 24, so much stuff like happens very quickly. Like you're, going through a lot of life transitions and developing in a lot of different ways, right? So I was 19 when Bound came out, and I realized like, I think like I didn't really have the confidence right away because I felt like, I didn't really know how like producing with other people or any of that stuff works. So it was definitely like, I think as I learned more about like, okay, learning how to like semi self produce and like work with other people, and also like trying to learn about finding a balance between like, okay, like posting on the internet and, you know, posting consistently and making sure it's like, quality posts, and then also like making sure to have enough like shows in person to kind of like build up your audience in like both scales and stuff like that. Like I think the confidence was something that came with time, but it was not something that I always had. And I think by the time the album came out, I had learned a lot about being, and I still have a lot to learn too, about like, being in my local music scene. So it was like, I had started becoming more confident in myself playing shows in maybe like October or November. But then I was like, okay, well, how about throwing and organizing my own shows, right? So then I was kind of starting to do some of that, like in my region, like in San Jose, and then also now in like San Francisco, which is like an even bigger like city and stuff, like, or well, actually not by population, but like, bigger city in the sense of like there's a lot more like diversity like in culture there, and there's a lot more diversity in the music scene in San Francisco than there is in San Jose. So it's just kind of like, I think as I learned to become a jack of all trades, let's say, the confidence then followed, but it was definitely something that had to be built up over time.
Yeah, awesome. I was also wondering like how you got into, like you kind of spoke about how everything kind of like fell into line like with Bound.
Yeah.
But like what was your first experience with music that made you realize like, hey, this is like what I want to do like with myself?
Yeah. So I always grew up in a super musical family, but
Me
everyone
too,
like,
me too. I
yeah,
get it.
like
Yeah.
everyone, like my dad makes like trance music. Super random. My dad makes trance music. Like
Yeah.
he makes trance music. I would hear him, like I had my childhood bedroom. His studio was like right next to my room. I would literally be hearing like the bass vibrating through
That's
the
crazy.
floor.
That's
Like
crazy because this is actually like my dad's studio and my
I was
bedroom's right
gonna
over
ask, I
there.
was like, this is a cute room. I was like, is this your studio?
Yeah.
This is so cute.
No,
Yeah,
I
no, my
use it.
dad
Like,
has like his own studio downstairs right now. I'm literally above it right now.
oh
That's
my
so funny.
gosh.
I'm literally at my parents' house right now.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I grew up in a very musical family. My dad played guitar. My grandmother, like his mom played guitar. My maternal grandma really liked, like karaoke videos. And then I grew up,
Mhm.
like my mom put me in piano lessons at like 5. And I actually like grew up to become like a piano teacher up until like very recently. I had that
Oh,
job. So
really?
yeah,
Awesome.
like I grew up in a very musical family, and I think music was always treated as something that was very omnipresent in all of our lives, but it was always kind of relegated to like, oh, like there's just like this fun hobby thing, you know what I mean? But I
Mhm.
think like in terms of, speaking more about like the right place, right time thing, um, when I started college, I had a lot more freedom to do what I wanted, especially considering I had a car, and what that means for a queer kid who was never allowed to go outside. That can mean a lot of
Mhm.
things. So, including doing stuff like just like going to events and like seeing stuff that you see like on the internet and stuff like that. So there was this one artist that I was following, that I still follow today, in like 2022, 2023. Her name is Have, and she,
Yeah, I know
yeah,
her.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wait,
So
she did
Have actually, oh yeah, yeah. What were you gonna say?
Venus in the Sea?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that
So
song.
Have used to be based in the Bay Area. She used to be based
Mm.
in the Bay Area, and before it was kind of like on the tail end of before she blew up, but she was from the Bay Area. And oftentimes, what she would do is she would post on her Instagram story whenever she was doing music videos or whenever she needed help with like shoots or whatever. Like, she would post on her Instagram story, it would be like an open call kind of situation.
Hmm.
Um, and she posted on her Instagram story this one time being like, hey, I need a couple of people to model some new shirts for like Have merch so I can, put the photos on Bandcamp and sell these shirts. So I swiped up and I was like, okay, like why not? Like I liked her vibe. I was very much into
Hmm.
like the like very, very ethereal, like aesthetic at the time. And this
Yeah.
was before Mayday May, right? So I really consumed a lot of that kind of music at the time. So I swiped up and, like we got to chit chatting, and then I, drove my best friend and I, who's actually my guitarist now, like them and I, we drove to the shoot and we did the shoot. And I was like 18 or 19, very, very impressionable time in my life. I think that's when I realized, like, oh, this is like music and creating this whole world around it. That's low key like something you can do with your life. Like, oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah, of
crazy. And like
course.
coming from like a pretty like conservative household where like, music was kind of just like you can be super into it, but just have it be off to the side. Like that was a crazy concept to see like how absolutely committed she was to, building, her world and also like putting herself out there on the internet consistently, like because she used to post a lot. She used to post a lot, always putting herself out there. And I think, for someone who was very young, like me, like 18, 19, that left a really huge impression on me. And a lot of the ways of like, how she structured, like, because I was in one of her, fun fact, I'm actually in two Have music videos, but it was like before
Really?
Mayday May. Yes, it
Oh,
was
that's
before Mayday
awesome.
May. Yeah, it was before Mayday May. So I'm in, she has a song called Moon Girl. I'm in the music video for that,
Yeah.
but it was before I had red hair. So I'll see if y'all can spot me. It was before I had red hair. It was in Moon Girl, and then I was also in another song's music video called Ophelia, and that was like one of the first tracks off of her album. Her album, Baby I'm the Wolf. But yeah, so like a lot of the ways of which she structured like her music videos and her shoots, and just like watching her do a lot of stuff and getting kind of like professionally acquainted with her, that inspired me a lot. That inspired me a lot.
Mhm.
And I think like she kind of made me realize that that was something that I could do like with my life basically. Honestly, like as dramatic as this sounds, like there low-key would not be any Mayday May without Have. Especially because it was like on that very first like photo shoot that we did, like her producer was there. Like her producer was also the bassist in her band at the time, and he was looking for new artists to produce for in the, Bay Area region. And so he actually ended up reaching out to me. He's like, "Hey, like, do you know of any artists or yourself that would be interested in like producing your own music?" So my father was actually teaching me how to play guitar at the time, and I had just wrote my first song, which was Bound. So I was like, it was with, I was only taught like a, what was it, like an E chord, an A chord, an A minor chord, and like a F sharp major chord. Okay,
That's
I
so
guess
funny. That is
I
so
guess
funny
I'll record
because
that. Like,
my dad like also would teach me guitar like when I was like younger. But
kind of
yeah, that's so
that.
funny. I wanted to ask like another question. This just made me think of another question.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you like believe that like are you like a strong believer in fate? Because I am. Like I think that uh like there's fated meetings in your life that like, bring you along on your journey. Like how have you kind of like encountered that? Like the
I
Habe thing?
think, oh my gosh, like I think like I'm kind of like coming to terms with this now being like 22, but I feel like I had like a lot of moments in my life when I was younger where I had a lot of moments of like overcompensating
Hmm.
in the sense of like trying to throw myself into other things that were not creative because I knew I wanted to be a creative person. But I think it was because of, what we're taught about the quote unquote, like, well, I mean, it is true in a lot of ways, like the like instability of like having a creative career and stuff like that. Like, I think that really scared me, and that was really hammered into me as a kid, right? So I had like a lot of these points in my life where I was trying to, overcompensate and like throw myself into like the corporate world when I was in college and like get an internship and like all this other stuff, which I did end up doing. And like but I think it's like now what I'm trying to do with my life, I'm trying to have like this kind of more of like a balance, but music being like the main thing. I think in terms of like fame and stuff like that, I think like what kind of made me realize that I need to stop overcompensating and I need to just kind of like, fully chase my dreams was like thinking about like, okay, like there's a lot of ways in which folks like me have been very disadvantaged, right? Historically. There's also a lot of ways in which me as an individual, I have a lot of advantages too. I need to like, and I kind of realized I was like, I need to use that to my best ability and take advantage of that and, use it to not only help myself, but also help other people. So I think like I think it was really when I started organizing my own shows because in like February, because I had like a single release show for Dump Your Boyfriend, Let's Les Out on this past like Valentine's Day. And that was the first time I ever organized my own show. And there were like and previously I had only maybe like, okay, like I'll just hop on the lineup of like this like local show, right? That, like a local promoter is putting on, which is like great. And, like that community is awesome. And I wouldn't be where I wouldn't be where I am without like the local music scene and like local promoters and stuff like that. But it was like, I was kind of like, I think I kind of want to take a little bit more control over my own destiny and just see how it goes. So I feel like, given the outcome and like the amount of people that resonated with the Valentine's Day show that I had, like I think that was, like a huge fate moment for me where I was like, wait, I think this is what I was meant to do, because I saw like the sheer amount of like visible like queer people at that show. Because like I wait, can I ask you like where you're based, if that's okay? Like,
Oh, yeah, I'm like all the way in Wisconsin. I'm
oh,
like,
okay. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, like so I'm all the way out in the Bay Area in California, right? Historically, the Bay Area has always been like a really queer area. But in San Jose specifically, like there's a lot of queer people in the music scene, but they're not like super visible, like in the sense of like there will be queer people in bands, right? But it's not like they're outwardly saying, I am making gay music. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like for me to throw a show being like, hey guys, I'm throwing a single release show and the song is called Dump Your Boyfriend, Let's Les Out. That was a huge deal. Okay, like that was a huge deal. And I feel like
Yeah.
even the premise of the song being just fucking like oh sorry, just being like Let's Les
No, that's
Out, like
fine. You can
is so
swear.
funny. Like I feel like the concept like it's literally like the concept of like having a song being called like Dump Your Boyfriend, Let's Les Out is so, I think that was kind of the thing of people were like, yo, that's actually really funny. Like, and I think that's like why a lot of people came. And also because it was like I hosted the performative lesbian contest for San Jose that past December. So I had a lot of like trickle down from that event into like the next event in February. So yeah, I think like realizing that like, okay, like not only can I make music for people like to listen to online, but I can kind of not only make music, yeah, like for people to listen to in person, but also, bring people together in this community that, have always been here, but they might have not always been, super united or super interconnected or might not know each other yet. So I think like if you go to a Mayday Mae show, specifically like a Mayday Mae show that like I am organizing, with like myself and like and or my co-organizers, it's like that's kind of the main focus is like, yeah, it's for Mayday Mae music, but also all these other artists, and also it's also to bring queer people together. So I think that was like a fate moment as well, as like realizing that like I'm gonna actually throw shows to serve my community.
Awesome. Yeah. I wanted to ask a question about like your queer identity and like how it's kind of
Yeah.
like influenced your music, or like how your music has influenced like your self-discovery. in that way, because I really think that art is really connected to like people's identity and like how they, discover themselves. So like how has how have those two journeys kind of like played off of each other, if you will, like your art and your queer identity?
Yeah, my art and my queer identity. So I'm a lesbian, and I knew I was a lesbian like before I started doing music. But I think if
Mhm.
anything, like making music about being a lesbian like helped me be more um unapologetic with it.
Mhm.
And it helped me be more, you know, I feel like for a lot of people in my local community, I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, I'm saying this because people have like told me this, but like I think for a lot of people, I'm kind of like the one person where it's like, if others can't be visible, I will often be the one who's like the most visible. So it's kind
Mhm.
of like, there's like this responsibility of like, and which I'm happy to take, like the responsibility that I am happy to take of like
Mhm.
being like the lesbian from the Bay Area, like the lesbian from the Bay Area, you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of like this thing of like, not only like this being proud of myself and like growing more proud of myself for being a lesbian, but also like, okay, like how can I show up for my community as a lesbian and what that represents to other people, right? So I think I've
Mhm.
kind of been looking at my own individual identity in relation to others and how basically how me being a lesbian can positively impact the world.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Awesome. Let me see what other questions I have. Um, so there was this one question that I thought was like interesting that I wanted to ask. This is kind of like what I like to ask people, like as a small artist, like you said, resources are limited. So like if you had more of an audience or if you had like more money, I guess, like
Right.
what do you think you would be doing differently?
Oh, I think probably like something that I would love to do more often is make music videos more often. That's
Mhm.
probably like the most expensive visual thing that like a small artist can do is make a music video. I've made two, Pinup Revolution and California Dream Girl. And I think I learned, especially on the set of California Dream Girl, trying to time the release of a music video with the release of the song itself is very, very difficult and something that needs to be planned out several months in advance. I think like maybe California Dream Girl, we maybe only had 2 to 3 months of planning, and I was like, still felt like it was so little time, right? So I think like if I had more money or more resources, I'd definitely be like making more music videos and also just kind of like, yeah, I think I would become a little bit more visuals based. And then also I think I would try and actually, like a lot every producer I work with is my friend, and they kind of, produce with me out of, the kindness of their heart. And producing music with friends is kind of just like that's our form of hanging out. I would
Mhm.
probably pay my friends to produce my music for me because that's like a very, that's a very underappreciated skill. And I don't think like that should go unnoticed. So I'd probably, like be a lot more like I would probably go ham on the visuals and I'd probably pay my friends.
Great answer. Yeah. Um, so like what's next for Mayday May? I know you just released an album, so obviously not anything like too soon, but are you like going right back into it? Are you taking a break? Like what's going on with
So
that?
this was literally something I was thinking about yesterday because I actually had a show yesterday. Like I had a show yesterday. Um, for the past like 6 months, I have been organizing my own shows with a local organization in the Bay Area called Core for Music. They are a local promoter and booker in the Bay Area, and they book like local music shows in the local scene. Those guys are like my partners in crime, my organizing partners in crime. I love them so much.
Mhm.
So we have put on so many shows together. Like I kind of started this show series called Sapphic Extravaganza. It's like a lesbian and sapphic centered like music showcase basically with, like music and drag and things like that and other activities, just, bring the queer community get together and such. Because something I realized, now that I'm like 21, right? I can go to all the gay clubs now, right? I realized though that there wasn't really a lot of stuff, especially because I'm like 22, so I'm just now coming out of like the under 21 crowd. Like I realized that there wasn't really a lot of like gay stuff to do if you're under 21. So that was kind of like the main reason why I started Sapphic Extravaganza, and the fact that like it's all ages, to make sure that like it's a safe and like appropriate environment for everyone to be queer and enjoy lesbian and sapphic music and drag and all these really cool things. So like I was started doing that in like January, and then we had our first show. First Sapphic Extravaganza show was in February, and then that one I did with Core, so I had help on that one. The second one I did in San Francisco was like it was like Sapphic Extravaganza, except it was like circus themed, so everyone dressed up as a clown. That one
Ooh,
was pretty fun.
nice.
That was like in April. I did that one all on my own. That one was crazy. And then a week after that, also in April, I had another show. It was not called Sapphic Extravaganza. It was actually called Lesbian Out Loud, LOL. And that was done in collaboration with Chapstick Magazine, which is a lesbian magazine based down in SoCal. And it was a collaboration show that we had at Moroccan Lounge in Los Angeles, which was really, really cool. That was actually, I think that was probably like the biggest highlight of my career, was playing at Moroccan Lounge. I'm being so for real, because it's like going from like DIY, like playing in someone's basement, to an actual venue in LA where people, like there's actually like a sizable amount of people. That's like a huge achievement. I still think about that. Like, so that was a huge amount of planning that took maybe around like 2 months. And then I had my album release show in May. And then I had a Sapphic Pride Extravaganza Battle of the Bands on San Francisco Pride weekend on like June 27th, because we usually have our Pride like in the last like weekend of June, like, so it kind of aligns with, like Stonewall Riot like anniversary and stuff. So, and it was crazy because a lot of people don't know this, but we played at San Francisco Pride. Like, aside
Ooh.
from like not just like the Battle of the Bands, but we played like at the San Francisco Pride main stage. They just didn't really promote it that much. But yeah, we played at the San Francisco Pride main stage the same day as Battle of the Bands. So we did San Francisco Pride in the daytime, and then we went to like the other venue in San Francisco for Battle of the Bands, which is a show that me and Core that had been planning for like over 2-3 months at that point. So, and then we had like another LA show recently. So I'm really trying to pump the brakes right now.
Yeah.
We've been doing so much, and like it's had like such a net positive for me and for like everyone else involved, and like it's taken us all to like new heights that like we've never even imagined before. But I kind of realized that like if you want to show up with your 100% on like everything, you need to take some time for yourself. So
Right.
while I am planning the next like Sapphic Extravaganza, it's going to be a lot later in the year. And I'm kind of going to take a step back for like about a month or two, like playing shows and stuff like that. Just so I can give myself and my band a break, man. Like like it's very fun to, do all these shows. Like we've done shows in San Francisco, we've done shows in LA, and like that's like a whole like bonding experience of like driving 6 hours from the Bay Area to LA, and like you get so close with everyone in the car over time. But it's also like a very emotionally taxing experience. And I kind of experienced this like a couple weeks ago when I went to LA for a show. Where it was like, oh my gosh, I was at home this morning at my house, and now it's like 10 p.m. and I'm like 400 miles away from home. And then it's like I blink, and the next morning, oh, we're driving back home. Oh, we're back home by like 4 p.m. It was almost as if like it never happened, in the sense of like you actually need to give your body, like I realize that you actually need to give your body time to reorient itself and adjust. And I think that's kind of something like I think doing all of these shows has actually physically had a lot of like it's been a little physically taxing on me, and I think I'm kind of starting to experience the repercussions of that now. So that's why I'm kind of trying to be like, okay, yeah, I'm planning the next thing, but I'm also gonna have it be later in the year, just so I can give myself time to like recuperate and stuff. And also because like I'm moving soon from San Jose to San Francisco, which is like about like an hour 15 minutes away from where I currently live. So that's like also another huge life transition that like I need to get adjusted to. So I'm not going to be playing any shows for like a couple of months. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, enjoy your rest. It sounds like it's very like needed and well deserved. So
Oh, thanks.
yeah. Um, I think I pretty much covered all that I wanted to talk about. It was great chatting with you. I mean, yeah, I'll be excited for the next thing whenever it comes.
Yeah.
And yeah, enjoy your time off. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
my time off. No, yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. Yeah, also like thank you so much for reaching out to me. I really
Hmm.
appreciate it. Like
Yeah.
I I read your email and okay, wait, I'm gonna like assume like that you're younger than me. Can I ask how old
I
you are?
I'm 18.
Okay, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna assume that you're younger than me, and I'm just kind of like, I remember being your age, and I remember like being so. I literally like told you like the whole story of like how I was very inspired by Have, and I was like, I think I
Hmm.
kind of saw a little bit of that, and I see that in like a lot of younger folks that like approach me and stuff like that. So it's like, it's very. It touched my heart, like it really did. Like I was just like I would be more than happy to like interview with you and like talk to you about
Yeah.
my talk to you about like all this other stuff because like I think that's like so necessary, like the knowledge like transfer like from like me to you and also like you to me and stuff like that. So like
Hmm.
I really like doing this kind of stuff because
Yeah.
like it doesn't happen like super often. So I think that makes it more like it makes it more like like down to earth and stuff like that because I understand with like like reaching out to like bigger artists like there's like the chance that like they might not like respond back and things like that
Mm.
because like I've definitely been there before. um but I was just like let you know, let me let you know that I'm here, let me let you know that I'm here and that I'm always more than happy to talk to you. So yeah,
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it.
yeah, I appreciate you too.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. All
All
right,
right.
cool.
Okay.